take a walk around the world. I wonder would it do me any good? But until I get some money in my pocket, then I guess just have to walk around my neighborhood. And I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. But bad desire's all I've ever had. I wanna take a ride up in the sky. Watch the aeroplanes just pass me by. I wanna see a Lear jetliner take a dive, just to show all of these people what it means to be alive. And I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. My bad desire's all I've ever had.
Okay, hi guys. I'm Chelsey. All right, so I guess I'm gonna start with like how I found Dopey Zoom. I guess we'll do this like kind of like how I read a book. You know, I start at the end and then go back to the beginning. So I found Dopey Zoom around Thanksgiving 2020. I had this like drinking episode, and I was just like, I don't know, maybe I have a problem, maybe whatever, and like, so like that's like what like brought me here. But you know, I stay for the connection and the fun and you know the people. And you know, I'd found Dopey podcast in, I think it was early 2019, through This American Life. And yeah, it's just I really liked, you know, Dave and Chris's stories and whatever, and like they were fucked up. And you know, we're all like, people have said in the Dopey Zoom room, like the one thing like we all have in common is that we're fucked up. And like I hope nobody's offended that I said that. But this is like my version of fucked up, you know? So I had like a pretty privileged childhood. I didn't really want for much, except to like be cool and be skinny and like not have migraines. I've suffered from migraines since I was 6. I grew up, my dad was like pretty verbally abusive. Like he was just loud and he was angry and he would yell. And, you know, some of my mom's favorite stories were like when I was 3 and we were in the grocery store and she's like, Chell and I are going to go in the other aisle, you know, to look for whatever. And I said, yeah, and a new husband. And when I was like 6, you know, he had yelled at me or something. And I went up to her and I said, when you leave him, you take me with you. Eventually my parents did divorce. The fight that led them to a divorce was arguing over the shrimp that my mother was making me for dinner that night. And so I moved out with her. The other thing, so I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. Like when I was a kid, like I was always fat. Like I've always been fat. And like that was kind of a thing. Like that kind of, you know, made me a bit of an outsider at school. And I was very aware of like the fact that I was fat, you know, like I wanted to be Jasmine for Halloween in 1st grade, and my mother told me I didn't have the stomach for it. And you know, so like it always made me feel like less than, or things would be better if I was skinny. You know, if I could lose weight, I'll be happy. You know, how many of us think that, right? And so that was just kind of like put into my head a lot as a kid. Like, I did this like weight loss study in like the 4th grade that my parents put me in. Like, I don't know. So being fat and like not good enough, like that's just kind of been like an ongoing thing. Um, in high school was like not great. I'm not, although I guess there are some people that like high school, but um, high school was the first time I got drunk. That story is, you know, so I went with my friend to her boyfriend's house and I got absolutely annihilated on screwdrivers, orange juice and vodka. I absolutely annihilated. And the way I remember it is that like his mom was a recovering alcoholic, but it doesn't really make sense because she supplied all the booze. And so like she might have been like an active alcoholic, but whatever. Anyway, so I'm puking in her bathroom and she's, you know, holding my hair and rubbing my back and it's going to be okay. And I'm crying and I'm puking. And like, I look up and this guy comes up the stairs wearing this black trench coat. And this is like maybe 3 years post like the Columbine shooting. And I looked at him and I looked at her and I was like, is he gonna kill all my friends? As it turns out, I like fell in love with him for like the rest of my high school career. We're still friends actually to this day. But yeah, that was, and so like I managed to get home that night and I think his mom drove me home. Anyway, I got home and like I'm wasted. Like I can't walk, I can't talk. Like I am annihilated. And I come in my house and my mother has like people over, like high school reunion, like friends over. And I was just like, I'm sorry, I have a migraine. I can't talk. And like ran to my bedroom. And like, it was so bad. I was so sick. I was so hungover. But I mean, didn't stop me from drinking again. Doesn't ever stop anybody from drinking again. In high school is when I started smoking weed every day. Like I don't remember exactly when every day like was really a thing. I know that by the end of high school it was a thing. And like I've always loved weed. Weed is my best friend. Weed is there when like I'm happy, when I'm sad, if my stomach hurts, if I can't eat, if I'm full, if you know, it's just it's like that's definitely like my thing, my vice. And it's always, ever since I started smoking it, like I just love it. But anyway, in high school, depression set in, and it had a lot to do with the fact that like everyone in my circle of friends also had depression, and you know, all of my friends were either cutting themselves, not eating, throwing up what they were eating, something. And I internalized other people's problems. Their problems were my problems. And, you know, it was almost like an empath, you know, to the nth degree. And I would have these like, I called them spells, okay? And it's really hard to like explain what this is, but like I would have these moments where I was just like hysterically crying and like so down in the dumps and like so stuck in that moment, and like everything was horrible and I wanted to die so bad. Like that's all I wanted was to die. And a friend of mine actually did try to kill herself. She ended up in a psych ward for a couple weeks, and then when she came out, she got put into this counseling at this place called Cats. Right. Also, fun fact: I was a crazy cat lady as a child. So I know it's probably hard to believe, but and so she went to this place called Cats, Child and Adolescent Treatment Services, and I'm like, I have to go there. Like, I need to go there. And I didn't think that there was really a way for me to just like ask to go. Like, I couldn't, just like be like, oh, hey mom, like I want to kill myself. And so instead, oh God, so during these spells, like I really wanted to kill myself. And I knew that if I didn't do something under the right frame of mind, I was going to kill myself and I was going to succeed. And so I decided to kind of like stage a suicide attempt, if you will. So I took 30 Advil, 30 ibuprofen, and I called my mom and I was like, I tried to kill myself and now I don't want to or something. I don't know. We ended up going to the ER. I had to drink charcoal. It was the worst thing of my life. Ended up, at the intake for the psych ward and got totally spooked, and just begged them to send me home. I totally regretted my decision. Like I didn't want, don't put me in the psych ward. Don't leave me there. So they sent me home with a referral to Cats. So arguably, my plan worked. And so I go there, and this is the first time that I get to see a psychiatrist. And I remember he showed me this like magic trick, and I don't remember the magic trick, but basically at the end of it, it's that the two cards he has are like both double-sided. And so he was like, you went into this not knowing how this magic trick worked. He's like, and now you do. And like, he's like, and that's what it's going to be like with your depression. He's like, we're going to get you on something and we're going to figure it out. And that was when I was first prescribed Zoloft. I was 15, and I've been on it since. And that is definitely a contributing factor to me being alive today. My antidepressants. So between like me getting help, that Cats put me through that DBT therapy, and which was like this group therapy thing, and it was just phenomenal. It gave me so many coping skills for when the anxiety got to be too much. Essentially, like looking back at it, I would call it anxiety. At the time, like I just thought I was fucking crazy. So towards the end of high school, I finally got a boyfriend, whereas like before that, like guys weren't that interested in me or weren't interested in me enough to make me a girlfriend. I just wasn't good enough. And they, I'm sorry, my cat just started chasing her tail on the other side of the room, so I got really distracted. So guys like just like weren't interested in me, and that like I just had this like loneliness, whatever. Finally managed towards the end of high school to get my first boyfriend, He was a cook at KFC where I had my first job. I was 16 dating a 28-year-old. It was a thing that ended when he cheated on me, and he was a bit of a liar in general, but also just the cheating thing. And so he really kind of like reinforced this like see it to believe it mentality that I have. That's like a big thing with me. Like people like, and it kind of bites me sometimes because I'm like, I'm sorry, like I just have to do this myself. Like I have to see it for myself, to know, whatever. So I go off to college in 2006, and I meet this guy online. So his name was Steve, and I'm 18 and Steve was 29 or 30, something to that effect. So there's a theme here, guys. And when I came home at Thanksgiving that year, the night before Thanksgiving, Steve totaled a 2-day-old brand new Audi. His dad had gotten it for him, and I convinced him to like let me come pick him up and he can come hang out at my house, whatever. But then he was telling me that like he had to be home at 10 o'clock, and I'm like, you're an adult. Like, why do you have like a curfew kind of thing? And so that's when I found out that he was on parole. He had just gotten out of prison shortly before he and I started talking. And he was in prison. On paper, it was for 2 counts of DWI. I find out later that that's not actually that was a plea deal. And so as part of his parole, he has to be home at 10 p.m. every day. He can't drink. He can't do drugs. He's got to go check in with his parole officer every Monday. I find out at this point that he was like, oh God, this is so embarrassing. He was a white supremacist. For those that don't know, I'm a Jew. So that's basically like Hitler dating a Jew. He had a white pride tattoo on his back. Like white pride was tattooed across his back between his shoulder blades. And like he had an SS tattoo on his forearm. And like, I mean, we dated for 1.5 years and he could never wear short sleeves in front of my parents. So it'd be like summer and he'd have like a long sleeve shirt on. It was, I mean, he didn't, actually, I don't even think he even ever met my dad, but whatever. So Steve was also like technically married. His wife was like pregnant and living with another guy, and they were like finalizing the divorce or whatever. He had 2 children with her. He told me that like, he used to have like a drinking problem, and that towards the end he had this pill problem. He was taking, like he said, and at the end, I need somebody to tell me if this is possible or not. He said that he was taking between either like 60 or 64 Lortabs a day. A day. So I'm not sure that that's actually real. Like I said, I have this tendency also to like find these like liars. But that's what he said. And I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. No problem. And so we like go off and start dating. That Christmas, he convinced me to steal a bottle of alcohol from the liquor store. We started smoking crack and taking a bunch of pills, blowing coke every now and again. I remember this one night, he called the crack dealer over, even though we didn't have any money. And he was like, when he gets here, you go look for it and you pretend that you're like just figuring it out. Like we didn't know this. And I was like, I remember being so scared because like, I'm not used to dealing with crack dealers, you know? And like, this guy could fucking like kill me. I don't know. I obviously lived through that. And we got the crack, he fronted it, whatever. So like I went back to school. Oh, sorry. So the other part about this. So on my winter break, he stole my mom's pain pills, some Dilaudid. And I confronted him about it. At first, he lied, and then he, was like, yeah, it was me, whatever. He cried and begged me to stay and was like, I'll go get help. I'll go to counseling, whatever. None of that happened. And like, I should have left, I feel like I tried to leave. And the stealing was just like a thing I couldn't deal with, but he promised he would change. So I stayed. So I go back to school, and there was this week that we did. So I found obviously like the druggy people, I had this like group of friends. We called ourselves the mixed smokers because like whatever. And like this one week we did like a different drug like every day. And like one day it was ecstasy, one day it was pills of some sort, one day it was fentanyl even. Oh my God, so crazy. By the end of that week, also though, we found the biggest PetSmart I'd ever been to. My friends lost me in there, and I had warned them before we went in, like, if you lose me, I'm probably by the cats. And that's exactly what happened. And by the end of that week, I had a tongue ring, which, whatever. There's one picture evidence of it that we used for the flyer. I had that tongue ring for about 3 weeks. And then it like the top ball like fell out when I was eating, whatever. And I couldn't get the thing back in. That's what she said. And so that was the end of the tongue ring. But that was my like fun like week of drugs at school. So I pretty much like I didn't actually fail out of college, but like I didn't do well. I kept coming home. Like Steve would manipulate me and guilt me into coming home, because he'd be at home and he'd be like, oh, I miss you. This, that, the other, whatever. And because I was only an hour away, 52 minutes if I drove really fast. As you can tell, I did that many, many, many times. I remember one night, like literally pooling together change with the other people in my dorm hall or whatever, so that I could pay the toll to get home. So I didn't really do well that last semester. I had gone to school for social work because of like how much like counseling and like the antidepressants have like really helped me and my friends and everything. But then I found out how much social workers make, or I should say don't make, and decided that like that wasn't necessarily the route that like I wanted to take. I also just wanted to be home with Steve. Like, that's all. That was really what it came down to. So, so I didn't go back to college, and basically things just kind of like tumbled downhill. There was still like a lot of crack smoking, a lot of pills. Steve was known for like, not known for, but he was known to disappear after work on Friday and not come around until Sunday night crying because he had spent his whole paycheck on crack, and now, you know, needed me to cover the bills that week. His drinking really like progressed. He would also do this thing. So as part of his like white supremacy shit, he had gotten himself into quite a bit of trouble. He killed someone when he was 14, and so he was on the FBI's blacklist. And so like he's just so crazy. And he would also tell me about how like if I see if I'm ever, noticing like there's like a white van without any windows, nearby, that's his boys keeping me safe. And he would like, he got me to understand, or he put it in my head that I needed to always be aware of cars and people around me, that that he had people out there to watch me. And this one night we were drinking, but like he like was really drinking. It was like, I think he like 30 beers, maybe something like that. And because Steve had been to prison, he would sometimes, when he would get really drunk, he would just like look at me, and you could tell that like he was in a different place. Like he was back in jail, and I was, his cellmate, trying to steal something from him. And he'd be looking at me like he was gonna fucking like kill me, like literally kill me. And so he was standing there, and he had that fucking look in his face. And the next thing I remember is like he has me pressed against the wall, and he punched a hole in the wall next to my head to like make a point. And that was when like I kind of realized like things were fucked up. Like this isn't normal, this isn't good. But like I loved him, and I blamed the alcohol. And I kept thinking like there's somebody behind the alcohol, and like if I can just, get to that person. But I mean, the drug use like didn't slow down at all. So then one day, $60 goes missing out of my bank account. And I call him. He says, no, it wasn't me. I call the bank. I find out it was taken out of the ATM at the corner of this street. So I had learned, I'd kind of learned from him, just like he would do this thing where he would like say stuff that he thought was true just to like get me to like confess. Okay. And so I said to him, I called him back, and I was like, yeah, so, I told the bank it wasn't me. And so they are reaching out to the police, and they're pulling the video footage from the gas station and from the ATM to see who it was, because I said it wasn't me. None of that was true. None of it. And that was when he admitted that he had taken my debit card, took out the $60 to go buy some pills. And I broke up with him. I was like, I can't do this, like I can't fucking do this. Over the next 2 weeks, he sold everything out of his apartment for crack and pills and booze, whatever. He was literally down to a mattress and a kitchen table. Like, he didn't even have the chairs anymore. And so naturally, I took him back because he needed me. And so we move, and then this one night he did that thing where he lies and he says, hey, this is what happened. So he goes, yeah, so I had one of my guys go over to, dude's house, and this guy that I was hooking up with before Steve and I started dating, he's like, I had one of my boys go over there, and they said that there was a black Nissan Sentra in the driveway. What do you got to say about it? And I said, okay, well, what year is it? Because both he and I drive a black Nissan Sentra, but his is a 2003 and mine's a 2007. So those are very different, like, shapes of car. And so he then picked up the phone, and I shit you not, he made a fake phone call to these boys of his to, like, figure this out. And, like, at the time I was like 50-50 on if this is real or if it was fake. Because again, I'm a see it to believe it kind of person. So I didn't believe it was real, but also though, like, I couldn't get my hands on the phone to grab it away from him to be able to, like, hear for myself that it either was real or fake. But that was like one of our biggest fights. And it's shit like that like stuck with me after I left, because that just fucks with you, like sending somebody around to the places that you go, like, because I am a creature of habit. Like, if there's something I love, it's routine. And, like, I don't know. So Steve would also do this stupid shit where he would comment on my weight, comment on the weight I had gained, comment on the fact that I was lucky that he found me attractive, that, if we ever broke up, I'd have a lot of work to do if I ever wanted a guy to, be interested in me, like, just all these things, which naturally led me to, like, eating more. But it was like closet eating. And I would, oh God, it was so bad. So this one night in the, like, 20-minute drive home from his house to mine, I stopped. I'd gotten like a movie theater size bag of peanut butter M&Ms, a king size ice cream cone. Then I stopped at McDonald's. I'd gotten like 10 chicken nuggets and french fries. And then I went to a Tim Hortons and I got a fucking donut. And when I got home, I had nothing to take out of that car with me. Like, I had shoveled all of that food in my fucking face. And that was when I knew, like, I had a problem. Like, I had a problem with food. I didn't think I had a problem with Steve, there wasn't that, but I had a problem with food. And so that was, like, what led me to finding my counselor. I don't really see her anymore, but she was definitely, like, another, like, saving grace in my life. So October 2007, Steve and I are drinking on a Thursday, and all day he was begging me to sleep over, and I didn't want to. And then the fucking neighbors show up, and the fucking neighbors are these two white trash pieces of shit, and all they want is to have sex with him. And now he's all like, oh, you can go home. And I'm all like, nah, fuck you, I'm going to stay. And so we got into this back and forth. And so he was like walking me out of the house. And as soon as we got outside, he pushed me. I fell, my head hit the car. I used my hands to like brace myself. And like, when they say if it was broken, you'd know it. Like, I fucking knew it. I knew it. The second I hit the ground, I knew it. Both bones in my wrist were completely displaced. Like, thankfully, like no skin was broken, so there wasn't any blood, but bones were sticking out. Like they were pushed out. It was gross. But Steve and I are both wasted, and this is 2007, so Uber isn't a thing, or at least not in New York. It wasn't a thing. So the fucking neighbors drove me to the hospital. So we go to the hospital, whatever. The next day I have to go back. They put me in like an air cast. And so then the next day I have to go back and see like a real doctor. I don't know. And he had to reset my bones. And he injected this like, I don't know, like 6-inch fucking syringe of like numbing whatever. And he's like, I have to put this into the bone before I can reset it. And he was like, this is going to hurt. And the more you move, the more it's going to hurt. And so he put that in, and that was and probably always will be the most pain I've ever experienced in my life. And I didn't move. Like, I did not move. Like, and at the end, he was like, I can't believe like you stayed so still. And I was like, you told me it was gonna hurt more. Like, I'm not gonna move if it's gonna hurt more. But literally, like that moment though, like after Steve, that like pain, I had flashbacks of that for years. Like there were times I'd be watching like an intervention, and they'd be shooting up, and it's just like the thought of the needle, and I was just like back on that bed right in that moment, like, and my arm hurt. But yeah, so they reset it. They put me in a hard cast. They sent me home with 60 Lortabs. This is on a Friday. Saturday, I'm at Steve's. Like, we didn't technically live together, but I was just like always there. Lucky him. And I was like on the couch, taking my taps pretty much the way I'm supposed to. I probably took a little extra, but whatever. Woke up from my nap, and I was down to like 4 Lortabs. And so I confronted Steve like immediately. And he told me that he sold them to the fucking neighbors. And we got into this huge fight, and I don't know what happened that like he stopped me short of like going over across the street. Cause again, like I knew in my heart that like he had taken them. And he's a narcissist and a liar, and he's just not going to, he will stick to his lie no matter what. So that night we go to bed around like 10:15, I think. And then shortly thereafter, the phone starts ringing, and it's the fucking neighbors. And I'm like, if you so much as touch that phone, like I will kill you. And few minutes later, there's like loud knocking, almost banging at the door, and I like lose my shit. Like I'm gonna fucking kill these people. Steve gets up and goes to the door, and as it turns out, it was his parole officer with like 10 other cops and 4 FBI agents. They were doing a home visit. They had surrounded the house, and the neighbors were calling to tell us that the cops were surrounding the house. So they come in. There's booze everywhere. My pills are out. And, they're walking around, they're talking, this and that and the other thing. And then his parole officer was like, well, none of us have a breathalyzer or a drug test with us. So we can't prove that you've done any of these things. He's like, so you're good for tonight, but I'll see you on Monday, and we'll be doing a piss test. And they left. And like, it's absolutely fucking wild to me that, 11 cops, 4 FBI agents doing this home visit, nobody brought a breathalyzer or a drug test. But they didn't. And Steve, I remember he closed the door, he turned around, he looked at me, and he said, I'm going to jail on Monday. I took your pills. And I was like, yeah, I know. So Steve goes to jail. And then he's in jail for about like 30 days. And while he was there, I kind of had this like weird feeling, like there was this like car at the end of the street that I was like humming and hawing about because, he had taught me to like pay attention to this shit. And so the one day when we were talking, I said to him, I was like, I've noticed this car, yada, yada, like, is this your doing? And he said, yeah, it is. And like, I'm pretty sure that he was lying, like just to like keep his lie going, like from his point of view, if I'm scared, then I am, doing what he wants me to do. So like, I think he was lying because like I wasn't too creeped about that car, but whatever. I don't know. We'll never know. So he's in jail. And then because he's in jail, he can't drink, he can't do any drugs, theoretically. And so in solidarity, I quit smoking weed. Because that's like the nicest thing I can do. It's so ridiculous. And so I quit smoking weed. After about 30 days, he gets released to rehab. In rehab, we start going to AA and NA meetings. That was like my first exposure to that community. We would get the NA tags, and God, it's so ridiculous. So after 30 days in rehab, then he goes to a sober living house. So he's in sober living, and he's been clean 60 days. And I'm like, let's move in together. Let's get an apartment because you're obviously cured from your addiction. And so we got an apartment together, and we were on our way to the 90-day meeting, the meeting where we were going to get our 90-day tags. And he starts talking to me about how he's been craving a lot lately, and how he really wants to use, and he thinks he can use within reason or some bullshit, I don't know. Looking back, he had already relapsed, and was just trying to like get me on board. But we went to the meeting, we got our 90-day tags, and then we left there and we went to the dealer's house. And that was the end of the NAAA part of the program. So we were living together, and that March 2008, I went to Florida to visit my best friend for her birthday. And Steve was in charge of sending out a couple bills because like this was then, and I don't know, mailed paper checks. Okay. And money was so tight that like I needed that check to arrive at like a certain time, so I couldn't send it out before I left. So he had to send it out, and so while I was gone, I checked my bank, and some weird check had been cashed. I figured out that he forged my signature and wrote out a check for himself for $150 to go party. And my first thought, I should have brought my checkbook with me. My first thought was that it was my fault for leaving it. And what's also obnoxious is I had totally thought about taking my checkbook, like making sure that my checkbook and my debit card like weren't at the house when I was gone. So that all happened on like a Friday. And so then Sunday I was getting ready to leave. It was really early. And I was like checking my bag to make sure I had my house keys for when I got home. And I unzipped it, stuck my hand in, and I pulled out my checkbook. And so I opened it up and I realized that he had taken a check from like further down in the book before I had left. And that was when I knew it was over. The premeditation part of it was what I couldn't forgive. Crime of opportunity was my fault. You know, I gave him the opportunity. Crime of opportunity, I probably would be dead right now. But he thought about it beforehand and went so far as to even like take one down further in the book. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, whatever. I'm not even going to go down this road. So when I figured that out, I knew when I got home, I was breaking up with him. So I got home, I broke up with him. I called my therapist and I told her what happened. And I was like, is there any way you can like see me, but I can't pay you right now because he stole my fucking money. Like, I'll pay you in like 2 weeks or whatever. And she was like, absolutely, come on in. And it was at that meeting that she gave me the best advice I've ever gotten. And I repeat it all the time. That I had to, in order for me to stay away from him, I had to sit with the uncomfortableness. I have to be okay being away from what I'm used to. And if I hadn't sat with the uncomfortableness, I would have gone back. She also, she didn't end up charging me for that visit. She was like, free of charge. No, don't even worry about it. And I like just about like cried over that alone, because I was like, that's like the nicest thing anybody's like done for me. So I saw Diane like a couple times a month. It was probably every week for a while, but you know, whatever, a couple times a month, for many years. She really helped me through like a lot of the recovery part. She was trained in EMDR. And so we did a lot of that to work through the trauma of the relationship, because, you know, I would have flashbacks, and like, you know, there were times I would leave my job at night and be scared to like walk out to my car in the parking lot. Like, there'd be like a white van in the corner of the parking lot and I'd be like, fuck, you know, like, it took a while to like accept and like understand that he was manipulating me like every chance he got. That's all it was. It was manipulation. After we broke up, so when we broke up, I was 20. I wasn't interested in dating whatsoever. Like, I was fucking done. And I ended up, so like after it was like 2 years of just total, like, I'm just doing me. Then I was like, well, maybe I'm gay. I'm not. But I tried. And uh, eventually I found this guy, Jay. And Jay was like a serial bachelor. And he, I don't know, like, I talked to him all the time. Like, I always thought that, like, he was just this bachelor, right? And like, that's why he didn't want a relationship. I mean, I obviously tried the old, lose some weight because I'm too fat, and maybe if I'm skinny, then he'll want to date me. The classic, maybe if I'm, change myself in any way possible so I can be whoever he wants me to be, then I'll be good enough. After about 5 years of that, I got a text message one night from his wife, letting me know what his real name was. And that was soul crushing. So I took another break from dating because that was just like, that was kind of a bit much. In 2010, I was leaving my job at the bank. I wanted to go back to school. Well, I shouldn't say I was leaving. They were kind of pushing me out because it was sales and I'm not a salesperson. So it was like I had gotten my first of 3 warnings that was eventually going to lead to my termination. And somehow, like, sometimes like the stars just align, like sometimes things just happen at the right time. And so got that notice, and then very shortly thereafter my brother reached out because he was thinking about moving back to Buffalo, but he needed his job had him traveling like 70% of the time. My brother at the time was basically Tommy Boy. He sold brake parts across like the New England part of the United States. And so he's like, I can either pay you a shit ton of money to like come over and take care of the dog, or you can live with me for free and take care of him while I'm gone. And I'm like, yeah, I'll live with you for free. When he moved back with the dog, we took a nap together on the couch, and I fell in love with that dog. And it's like pretty much since then I've been a dog person. And it's just a matter of time. These are my last cats, but Odie was like a very, very special dog. He was a rescue. Like, he found my brother. He's just whatever. He was awesome. So I lived with my brother and the dog, and 2 cats, and we had, it was this whole time of like being in, I went back to school, obviously. I ended up getting my degree. I have a degree in economics that I don't necessarily use. I just wanted to do something with my life, like I wanted to, like, I don't know, just be a productive member of society. So I went back to school. And so there was this time when like I was so painfully lonely that like I couldn't even hang out with couples, like it would be, because all of my friends, like, they're all fucking married at this point. And through my 20s is when they were getting married, but they were all coupled off, and like I could hang out with like one couple at a time, but as soon as there was like 2 couples, I was like, I'm not going, because it was just like painfully in my face that I was alone and nobody loved me. And all I wanted was to be loved. Like I wanted to love somebody, but I just wanted them to love me back. Um, and so that, and like I was battling this whole, why did I do what I did? Like, why did I stay with Steve for so long? There were so many times. Why did I do the things I did when we were together? And there was this one night that I was driving and I popped in an old CD that I had found. And the song came on that I really enjoyed, but I hadn't heard it essentially in a long time. And I'm going to read you guys some of the lyrics to it just so you can see what I'm talking about. So it says, I've completely lost myself and I don't mind. I can't say no to you. Shouldn't let you conquer me completely. Now I can't let go of this dream. Can't believe that I feel good enough. And it was like at that moment in my car, like I understood why I did what I did. It was like the first time that I had really felt loved. It was fucked up love, but love nonetheless. I felt good enough, even though he kept telling me I wasn't. But he would tell me that I wasn't good enough for anybody else. I don't know. But I couldn't say no. I could never say no to him. So at some point, within the last like 5 years, I found a way I found my self-worth. And, because I kept thinking like, I don't, maybe I am loved, right? Like maybe I am. And I would think about like, what do my friends like about me? Or just thinking about like, do my friends love me? And they do. And so I started to like realize that there are traits about me that are good. There are definitely traits about me that are not good. But I am lovable and I am loved. I am good enough for the people that are in my life. And like you guys have seen my Valentine's Day cake. Like I by myself, like I got to this point where I was like, I don't need somebody to take me out to dinner. I'm going to take myself out to dinner. And it's actually become one of my favorite things is going out by myself because I can eat and leave as quickly or as slowly as I want to. I guess, and as, the wait staff allows, but like, I can go out and I can do my thing and I'm okay with that. And like, I don't need somebody else to treat me. Like I can do it myself. And that's just something like I live and breathe on the daily. Like my friends tease me because I bail on things all the time, but it's because I don't want to go. And like, I've stopped making myself go to things I don't want to be at. I would not be in these dopey meetings if I couldn't do them from my couch. And like, it's just, I literally the other day, so my birthday's on Tuesday, and literally the other day, my mom was like, do you want to go out to dinner for your birthday? And I instantly said no, because like, I changed my mind, I fixed it. But like, instinctively, I was just like, I know exactly what I want. And like, I'm okay now being single. Like, I'm happy being single because like I said, I don't need somebody else. Like I got my dog, Dex, he's great. I've had him since June and he's just phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, right now somebody would literally have to like make me think or know that like them being part of my life would make my life better. Because right now I'm so like, I love only having to worry about myself and arguably the dog. And that's kind of all I want to worry about. So, yeah, I mean, and part of like getting this like stuff together, like I wanted to find my NA tags, but I think I actually got rid of them when I moved. I think I'd finally come to the decision that they did not, that I didn't need the physical thing to have the memory, you know? And so I'm pretty sure I let those go. But I did come across this like short story thing that I wrote in college, the second go round. And it's this like writing style where like it's just song titles back to back. Essentially, it's like song title and then the artist, and that's it, just back to back. And I had written it about Steve. And at the end, it's like the last two ones are the best is yet to come, she will be loved. And I didn't remember having that much hope at that point in my life. But I do think I mean, like I am loved. Like I finally like I love myself. You know, I'm happy with who I am and how I live my life, and I'm happy with my friends, and I'm so lucky to have all the things that I do. At one point in my, you know, I don't know, in the last 10 years or whatever, I came across a news article that Steve had been arrested for threatening his girlfriend at the time with a bat. And I am sure that I would either be severely damaged or actually dead if I had stayed there. It wasn't going to get any better. So I'm thankful that I'm here. I'm thankful that I can, you know, come out on the other side. So that's it.
I wanna take a walk around the world. I wonder would it do me any good? But until I get some money in my pocket, then I guess just have to walk around my neighborhood. And I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. But bad desire's all I've ever had. I wanna take a ride up in the sky. Watch the aeroplanes just pass me by. And I wanna see a Lear jetliner take a dive, just to show all of these people what it means to be alive. And I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. But bad desire's all I've ever had. My shadow's getting smaller and smaller, and it's high noon where I stand. My shadow's getting smaller and smaller, and it's high noon where I stand. I wonder would they pay me any mind if I leave this busted city far behind. And I I'll take the high road, however far it winds, 'cause peace and love are very, very, very hard to find. And I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be so good, so bad, so bad. Wanna be good so bad. But bad desire's all I've ever had. Oh man, these suckers really make me mad. And it's all I ever had. And these suckers make me mad. And it's all I ever had. These suckers make me